All right, welcome everyone. My name is Trevor Grossi, and today I've got another extremely exciting discussion to have with my friends Louis DeCordier and William Brown. And today we're going to talk about Hawara, which is, aside from Giza, I believe safe to say, the most important site in all of Egypt. Because for those who don't know, we have a video that I did with Bill. The Secret Underworld of Giza, Part One. We go into some of the basics of what Hawara is. But basically, it's an enormous subterranean complex. It's about 90 kilometers south of Giza. And we have descriptions of it all throughout history, from even Herodotus, the father of history, they call him, telling us that it's basically the greatest architectural achievement in all of human history, surpassing even the pyramids. This is a complex, he said, had 3,000 chambers, and it's absolutely enormous. They're all covered in reliefs and art. This is one of the most important sites, and we've kind of covered some of it in other areas, other films, but today we're going to get deep into some of the most exciting new developments and some of the parts of it that people are less aware about. So I'm so excited. I've got two of the world experts on Hawara with me today to cover this. Louis DeCordier and Bill Brown both worked at Hawara between 2007 and 2009, leading the two first expeditions, respectively, that actually did remote sensing at the site and detected chambers and parts of the labyrinth underground. Um, Both of you two actually were the first ones to prove the labyrinth was still down there, that these chambers are still below ground, and actually bring hard evidence that they are there. And then there was some later missions towards 2014 and 15, which revealed a bit more. But basically, you were the two individuals who both spearheaded your individual teams, respectively, to actually first answer the question of, is the labyrinth still there? Um, how much of it is still there? Can we access it? How deep is it? And you were also both working on this very important aspect of this site, which is addressing water damage that's happening to it. So I'm so thrilled to have you both here. I've been talking with you both for many years, and we're all good friends here. We've all been talking about this off the record, but it's really great to get finally a public uh, discussion about what's going on with it, because we've got new announcements, new material that have just come out. So um, I think I'm so excited to actually be making history here today with both of you. And want to welcome you both and thank you both for being here. I think I want to start with you, Lewis, quick, and ask you to give an introduction to what first got you into Hawara, how you got set up with that, and what was the project that you set up there. And we'll get into this a little bit and then cover what Bill did before we get into all the new stuff. So, could you tell us a bit about how you first got interested in Hawara and what was the project that you set up there, basically aiming to do?
Okay, so then we have to dive very deep in time. That was like when I was still a teenager. Actually, my father was an artist, and he still is an artist, and he had a friend, which is Spanish friend artist called Juan Munoz, and he participated at an exhibition, and there he presented several very old books and kind of facsimile of an old book by Athanasius Kircher, and I was very interested in that book because it had all these intrinsic drawings of ancient Egypt and so on. And when he came to visit us one day in Belgium, this Spanish artist, he actually gave us the book. So, and in that book there were some very nice images. Actually, this famous one of the labyrinth of Egypt, and ever since I was like very fascinated by this idea of the labyrinth itself. That's the first actually that I was the first time I became aware of the existence of the Egyptian labyrinth. But at that time, I was also very into reading, how to say, books that were challenging, yeah, what I was being taught at school. And one of these books was Chariots of the Gods of von Daniken. So I was like 13, 14 years old reading von Daniken, and that really blew my mind. So many years later, I came into contact with this Belgian author, Patrick Jural. He wrote a book on the Orion prophecy. Yeah. And so he was part of this 2006 team that what Bill was also part of, that did the scanning of the Giza plateau. And this Belgian author, he introduced me to the National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics, somewhere in 2006, 2007. But it took quite a while before we were able to actually to set up the mission on site as at HAWARA itself, the site of the labyrinth itself. So, but that's how it actually all came about. Yeah, serendipity, synchronicity, and
Yeah.
and a good luck of a good portion of luck.
Yeah, that was the NRIAG is who Bill was doing these GPR scans with at Giza. This is all also covered in the Secret Underworld of Giza Part 1, where we get into Hawara as well. But it's very interesting that you ended up working with Dr. Abbas and the NRIAG just a couple of years after Bill was working with them at Giza, and then both of you ended up working at Hawara around the same years. But yeah, so you as an artist and as just someone who became very interested in it, you actually coordinated and organized this entire Mataha expedition. And that was 2007 and 8.
Yeah, so the in 2008 was actually the expedition itself. It started, I think, early, like I don't know, it was like February or something. Um, but of course, the whole organization took almost like, yeah, 2 years. First, actually, yeah, find a way to fund it, and the permission issues and so on. So yeah, so
Mhm.
it, yeah, that we never talk about the years that actually took to actually yeah, or organize it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely takes a long time, especially to get the funding together and permits and all that.
Yeah.
So you were aiming for that project. You were aiming to try and find the labyrinth to use the GPR scans to locate it, but also look into the water issue to some degree. Was that also part of the goal, or?
Yeah, it was a part of the application, and actually the big picture came in for me, why actually Hawara. So it was not just actually of finding like this labyrinth. It had a very big reason behind it, because the whole thing is that I definitely at the time, and still am, I'm always being very concerned about how to say what happened at the end of the last ice age, some 12,000 years ago. Uh, because many authors, certainly at the time, even like Graham Hancock, they were referring that this interglacial that we are now in is going to end, is ending, and we will start actually like a new glacial era. And coming along with the start of it are going to be like major, how to say, earth changes. Yeah, and certainly 20 years ago, I became very aware of these things, very concerned about. And this Patrick Gerald, in his book The Orion Prophecy, more or less indicated that the Hawara labyrinths, they're the Hawara labyrinth being like a giant stone book with 3,000 of rooms full of hieroglyphs. There we would find the answers for many of these I see, the things that we didn't know, especially related to the heritage of Atlantis, in the sense that Egypt was like a heritage culture of Atlantis, um, founded by the survivors of that cataclysm that happened, and that everything that they actually knew was left behind as a message for humanity inside HAWARA, inside the labyrinth. So many other authors also refer to the labyrinth of Egypt being the hall of records of this lost civilization. So in essence, like if the Library of Alexandria is the software, like then the hardware of the information is the labyrinth of HAWARA. So in contrast to the giant buildings at Giza, there is no actually written records left behind, or very few, and that's a complete contrast to HAWARA, that is described to contain like all this knowledge. So it was always about finding the knowledge, and definitely not like treasure hunting like they did in the 19th century. So it was finding the knowledge, and with a kind of urgency as well. Certainly, as we are today, definitely moving into the continuation of these earth changes, like the sun is changing state, the geomagnetic poles are wandering, and so on. So ever than before, it's for me a necessity to be able to enter that library.
Yeah, to try and access it if we can. I think Bill and I have found this as well. Of course, we're both quite obsessed with looking for this Hall of Records, and have been doing so much research showing us that it is real. But so much of it, when you start looking into these records, you end up learning about Hawara very quickly, because whatever is under Giza, I do believe there's tons of records under there, but for the most part, the real treasure is likely the text, the books that are actually probably inscribed on the walls themselves. And when you realize this is how they usually ended up making these texts that they wanted to be immortalized and absolutely protected forever, that stuff wasn't written on papyrus. It was put in these more permanent forms, like inscribing it into hard stones, which is why we know that, the best way to do it would be to make a huge structure underground that would have so much surface on the stones that you could inscribe all these written texts. And because Hawara is so huge and all the information we know about it, we can tell that it is very likely, as you say, a major part of the record halls. It may be a copy of information that's also at Giza or something like that, but that is the indication, especially based on what Herodotus told us about it, because he was saying specifically that all the walls are carved in this beautiful art, everything. It was almost like they made these 3,000 chambers, he said, just as if like, creating a notebook in which to write all the information. So there are many indications that show us it is likely a record hall in itself. And that's probably the purpose for it being so huge and having so much surface area. So that's a really good point. Glad you mentioned that. And yeah, Patrick, he's a good friend. He helped connect us together, and glad you shout him out as well. Um, so yeah, this was similar to what Bill was also trying to do, and this was the project we were talking about in Secret Underworld of Giza. We went over a bit how you first, Bill, learned about the University of Wroclaw and the Polish team you ended up working with. Could you tell us a little bit about that story, just quick, to introduce your part in this, how you ended up joining with the Polish team?
Um, it all started when I went to Egypt in 2005. I went there in 2003, my first visit to Egypt. Then I went back in 2004, 1 year later. And then in 2005, I went to Egypt 2 times. And at that point, I made the decision that I wanted to go and live in Egypt for the rest of my life. So I scheduled to go in 2006. I arrived January 13th, 2006, with a 5-month visa. with a decision whether I was going to, live there or whatever. And so when I was there, I actually commissioned to have my house apartment built in 2006. When I was there, I was working privately with NRIAG and Dr. Abbas, and we did the GPR scans of the entire Giza Sphinx Causeway from the second pyramid down to the Sphinx. And I'd been there for a week when I met this Polish team. They wanted to talk to me about the work that I had been doing and asked me to collaborate my work with them. And at that point, I joined the Polish team from Chicago and the team that was in Poland as well. And at that point is when I had met the person, Lucina Lobos, who later became my wife 6 months later.
So yeah, you actually were working with the NRIAG, and then the University of Wroclaw ended up doing a lot of that same scan sites that you had scanned with them at Giza, and then you met Lucy and became part of that team kind of. So then they actually moved to Hawara to do work in 2007, and they asked to have you be, as a civil engineer, have your expertise on the site plan management and all of that. They told you that they were going to come down to work with Hawara. Is that right about?
Yeah, I was a retired civil engineer with site plan engineering. And so at that point, after working with them at the GPR scans in 2006, they commissioned me to work for them for the 2-year project at Hawara. And so I visited Hawara every other month along with another engineer. And this is when we did the GPR scans at Hawara. I was actually the first engineer in 100 years to be able to do the first official site plan of the entire Hawara plateau, where we actually went in and did the site plan elevations, which became the information in order to be able to record the depths of the water table, which was
Okay.
the reason for the project.
Yeah. Well, with that, I'm gonna share my screen here because I got some of the slides to help you tell this part of the story. So here's the image that shows the actual, this is the report that was given by the Wroclaw University. This, it's lagging a little, 1 second. This image will show it was actually a joint project between University of Cairo was also involved, right, and University of Wroclaw.
That's
And
correct.
okay, so if you want to jump in on any of these, I'll just start going through a little bit. These are a couple of the introductory shots from that report. They were showing the location. Here's Giza up here, and Hawara is in the Faiyum Oasis. It's right near the Nile, but this whole thing is the Faiyum Oasis. And this is a closer up image of the outskirts of the area. This is Hawara right here, and what you see in the middle is the pyramid itself. And the labyrinth is known to be in this area just to the south of it for the most part. It's a huge area, and it's not much to see today. You can't really see too much going on, but that's the general area it looks like. And this right here is very important. This is the canal that's actually cutting through it, which is a big part of the issue, is just causing a lot of this water damage. So here's also a view of the mud brick pyramid that we can still see there, which we're going to get into this as well, but this was not the original pyramid. We know from Herodotus, he was talking about the pyramid having these vast figures inscribed on it and images carved into it, which means it certainly was not a mud brick pyramid originally. this is either, I believe, a covering or a casing placed over the stone pyramid to protect it. And we could talk about that in a second because I know Bill has more information on that. But it's also been suggested, I've heard that they would make mud brick cores and then do stones outside of that. But that doesn't really make much sense to me. But some people have tried to say this was just a core that was left of it. I tend to believe it was actually a casing put on top of it to protect it, the actual stone pyramid underneath. But I'll let you explain some of these next images. If you want to talk about, this was the team doing the GPR scans.
Yes. There was two people. Adam Sienkiewicz was the engineer from the University of Wroclaw. He led two of the three GPR scans that were done. And this is a picture of him working with the GPR team.
Okay. And then here's one of the site plans.
Yes.
Can you explain a little what we're looking at here?
Okay, we went in and where you see the letter B, B10, B6, B5, those were the actual site where we actually did soil borings to determine the depth of the water surrounding the pyramid shown in the center.
Mhm. Okay, we've
And
got it.
this is
Yeah.
the engineering survey that just lines up all of the soil borings.
Okay, yeah. Got a couple images showing the soil
Right.
borings as well. So these were you're drilling down, checking the water level basically at all those different points around it,
Exactly.
correct?
Exactly.
So okay. So I'll ask before I keep moving on, what did you ultimately find? Did you end up finding a way to potentially resolve the water? You want to mention what
Well,
your
there were several discussions of what to do, and I ended up doing an engineering survey where I could show the level of the existing water and then a drainage system that we use to be able to propose to remove the water from the site to protect the pyramid. Another alternative was to go in and to put a concrete casing around the existing channel that was on site. But what they discovered was that the channel had actually penetrated the southwest corner of the Great Pyramid and may have actually damaged the pyramid itself, and that draining the water using the other system was not going to work. And at that point, that was when the project was removed, taken from our control because we had actually excavated on site. We were not allowed to go more than a meter, and we were excavating at greater depths, and the Egyptians
yeah,
were not happy about what we found.
right. Okay. So these were some of the soil borings. This was another one of the maps
Right,
that came out in the report as well. So again, this is the pyramid area. This is the channel, the canal running right through it. And this was leaking into at least some of the layers of this
yeah,
stuff, causing some of the damage. So yeah, basically the solution would have to do with either patching this canal up or moving it, further off to
right.
the side, getting it further away.
Well, what we
And
found out was that the existing mud brick pyramid was covered with sand, and that only one half of the pyramid was actually known was shown at the time, and the depth of the pyramid was much deeper. And we did find
okay.
that morning.
Yeah, this
Um,
image kind of shows, is this the image? I've got a couple here. Actually, this one is a little clearer. This red
yeah,
line is showing the actual pyramid, and the
yeah,
black one is showing all that we see of it, right?
right, right. And so what I did in this, when you see these GPR scans, I went in and did the third series of GPR scans And you can see here that our GPR scans was actually scanning the interior of the pyramid itself, with the red line being the footer. And down on the bottom right corner, you see the test pit. We actually found the edge of the stone pyramid itself.
Okay, exactly. So this is where you actually dug. And is that I've got these two images. Is that this
Yeah,
pit right here?
that's correct. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the top one is me and my wife Lucina up at the top.
Mhm.
I was a site engineer on site every day, recording what work was being done, and this was one of the test pit that actually found the bottom of the corner of the stone pyramid.
Okay, yeah. Is
On
this the
the,
same one or this is a different
no,
one or that's this, this
this is on the other side of the pyramid.
okay. Okay, so this is really amazing. This is really one of the most incredible things that happened during that whole expedition is that when you dug here, you found all of this section of the pyramid is buried underground, just to make that
Right,
really clear.
right.
Uh,
We
which
did the
means,
scans. We were looking at the rooms that were inside.
yeah, so you're actually walking around on the ground right here doing GPR scans, but they didn't
Yeah.
realize you were on top of the pyramid scanning
Right.
the actual
Right.
chambers inside it.
The other two scans was a circle outside of the red line. And
Uh-huh.
so I went in and said, no, we need to scan in this other area. And we have GPR scans of what that area looks like.
Yeah, this is the one showing it more in context.
Right.
So these
Exactly.
are some of the other areas
Yeah.
um, where you found anomalies and did the scans. So I'll
Yeah.
show some of the scans in just 1 second. And here's another image of some of the
Yeah.
team.
That was me leading the team. Um,
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah, so this is the GPR, that's traditional ground penetrating radar. You
right.
just pass over the land with this equipment and get this remote sensing data.
This
Um,
is the same equipment that we used at Giza, and the
mhm,
same GPR scan team
mhm.
from
Okay,
2000.
so let's
Yeah,
show some of them just to this is some of the most exciting stuff because these were some of the very first GPR scans of Hawara. This was history in the making, and we've got some pretty good ones here. This is very interesting.
yes,
This is the ceiling of a tunnel, this one. This
that's
one's
correct. Yeah,
very clear.
that was the one that the actual tunnel that was buried. Yeah, they did find that. Um,
Mhm.
the intention was to go in and to excavate it, but we were removed from the site and the site taken away from us at that point.
Mhm. So
And
this
just a quick,
says,
wa- was this the tunnel connecting the pyramid with the labyrinth
This
area?
this is inside the pyramid itself.
Inside the pyramid
wow,
itself.
It's on the north west side. This is the
okay.
tunnel. We believe this is a tunnel that Petrie uh, dug.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. Okay, yeah. So Sir William Flinders Petrie, he was the only person who ever really documented the interior chambers of the pyramid because today it's completely flooded. And this is a really important point. When you find the entrance today, it is stone. It's not mud brick. The entrance in at the bottom is actually stone. And Petrie was able to get in there in his time because it was not flooded then. So he gave us some idea of he mapped out those tunnels basically, but today it's sloping down in there and it's you just flooded at a certain point. Now I actually asked you, Lewis, recently about, I was saying, why don't we just send a submersible drone in there? And if we give it a powerful enough light, this is going to be really murky water and muddy probably. But if you've got a strong enough light, well, we could send a drone in and confirm all the tunnels Petrie had talked about. But you actually, Lewis told me that someone did try that at one point. I don't know if could explain that a little bit. You basically said that it seemed like not only was it flooded, but someone had just packed in stones under the water to make sure that no one could even swim in. Does that seem to be the case, or what did you tell me about that? About
Uh,
when they tried to get a submersible drone in there, what happened?
Also, like a YouTube movie, and it actually made some screenshots of the movie where there was like a team who had the submersible drone. I think they were even from Holland. Um, very looked very like a very professional underwater drone, and they were not able to really get into it because the whole entrance is not only submerged but also just like there are it's completely yeah how to say blocked by debris. So and that must be taken out first to be able to really enter the whole structure. So I don't know if the debris is put in in it intentionally or just through the years. I have no idea, or maybe just a mixture of both. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely blocked.
right. So whether it's intentional or not, it's still a simple thing to fix, you know. We would have to just pull out some of that debris in the interior and then we could send a drone in, confirm all that stuff. But Bill, you actually confirmed some of what Petrie had told us about the interior tunnels with some of your GPR scans. And um, I'll just I'll just go back to sharing again because so we can look at a couple more of these. But there are so many of these in the Polish report that came out. This is amazing. So I want to show an assortment here so people can understand. These are, you know, what you're seeing are these 90-degree square kind of tunnels and chambers that can't be mistaken as natural formations because they're showing geometric forms, right?
Yeah, and when you look at these and you compare them to the NASA satellite that was shown, later, they line up with you can actually see uh, these shafts. And every time I go back, especially this one here, R7, and I told
Yeah.
them at the time that if they would go in, and the man was actually standing on top of this site, and every time I go back, I said, "Have you dug yet?" He says, "No." I know they have. But if you this shaft right here was shown not to have water in it if you compare it to the NASA satellite scan. If you have that picture, I'll show it to you.
Um, yeah, I do have it. I can edit in afterwards. We all know what it
Okay.
looks like. You're
Okay.
talking about Dr. Carmen Bolter, Klaus
Yeah.
Donna, the scan
Right.
that they did, which
Right.
was actually that one was actually from Geoscan, if I'm correct about that. Is that right,
Right.
Lewis? You know
Right.
that?
Yeah, that
If
was
you actually,
Geoscan company. Yeah.
Yeah,
if
so
you
they
go, yeah,
Now,
even
now,
today, if you were to go to this RF7 site, you can actually go into that is the entrance to the pyramid on the east side. And that's what we tried to do. And I was trying to promote that idea when they canceled our uh, contract.
so that's somewhere
Uh,
over here that goes in.
yeah, yeah, right where you see E1. It's
That's
right
right
in
here.
there. Yeah.
Wow. Cool. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's one of the ones that was right on top of the pyramid where they didn't know you were
exactly.
actually on top
Exactly.
of it.
Right.
Um, Amazing. And it's so clearly an
Yeah.
actual shaft.
Yeah.
And here's a couple more of these other ones from the Polish report. I just want to show these all quick because it's absolutely so. What happened was at a certain point in history, it was kind of accepted and determined that the entire labyrinth was gone, and that they'd been searching for it. Many different people were searching for it, and they had found this certain level where they thought, you know, this was there was a town basically built on top of it pretty much at one point that was pretty much just pulling stones out and like reusing them or selling them, like quarrying it out, like to reuse the stones. And I think the world basically had accepted that at this point all of it was gone and none of it could be found. And these are the very first scans that ended up helping show that it was actually still there and that we were still on top of it. And that level was basically above the roof. Because Herodotus was telling us, there was one level above ground originally, but even that level is buried deep under the sand today. Which, by the way, it really makes us understand that the pyramid must be mostly underground too, because we know there's a lot of sand before you even reach the bedrock. So, of course, the pyramid must go down further and be bigger than what we see. But nobody ever thought of that or knew that until you confirmed it. And these are the first GPR scans to ever really prove that the labyrinth was still there and that we were on top of it. It wasn't gone. Um, Here's a
Well,
compilation I made of some of them.
well, the point is that the little bit of confusion that this is not the labyrinth. These are the rooms inside the pyramid or accessing the labyrinth is outside of the pyramid that Lewis describes in his area. These were rooms inside of the pyramid,
Okay,
not
all of these ones are.
yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. I thought some of these were maybe down to the south, but all of these you're
No, no,
saying are inside.
all of these were, yes. Uh,
Yeah.
the ones in the front, were close to the area that Lewis talks about. But these scans that I was talking about were actually rooms inside of the pyramid itself.
Uh-huh. Okay. And yeah, so Lewis's scans, they look a little bit different from the Mataha expedition than these ones,
Yes.
but we can show them
His
as
area was
well.
his research area was different. Ours was the pyramid itself, and he was in to the south of the pyramid. And
Mhm.
we were also doing some work to the east side of the pyramid as well.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, on this one you can kind of see
Yeah.
you ended up basically confirming some of the tunnels that Petrie was talking about and actually finding what you believe is the actual entrance. We already know that the entrance into the labyrinth is supposed to be through the pyramid, but you actually found, I think, the definitive, definite entrance from the pyramid into the labyrinth. Is that right?
I believe, yes. But we were never able to confirm that, and we hope in the future we can by working on collaboration in the future. We hope to
Yeah.
sharing our information with everybody. We can do that.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll ask in a minute, Lewis, for if you have if you want to share some of the images from the Mataha Expedition GPR as well. But first, actually, I would just want to wrap up some of this stuff from the Polish University project with Bill. Can you tell us, Bill, a little about what happened at the end there and how it ended up wrapping up
Well, the problem that
2009?
actually the real problem that we had at the time, it was a political nightmare. Uh, Dr. Shaheen was the director of the Department of Archaeology for the University of Cairo. And he, at the same time, was in competition with Dr. Hawass to take Hawass's position. And because he was not successful, and Hawass still maintained control, that's when we lost control of the project. So it was more of a political situation. Um, we did the uh, Cairo conference in April of 2009 and presented all of this, this material. And at that time, I presented my own private water study evaluation and gave that to Dr. Hawass in his office, that he accepted that and presented that to some other people that took over the project after we left.
Okay. Um, so yeah, it was basically right after you showed that the pyramid went deeper underground. Was that part of it as well? When you weren't
Yeah, yeah.
supposed to find that the pyramid was bigger than it really
Well, yeah,
is?
our permit didn't allow us to do excavation. Our permit was research to evaluate the water damage and to recommend how to do that. And some of the people were doing extra work that was not within the permit, and that's why it was full.
Hmm. Right.
We found a lot more information on the northern side, where we were actually starting to find the tunnel that we thought that ended up going all the way to Giza. And I was working with Dr. Shaheen privately on how to do all of that when we lost the contract.
Yeah. Okay. And this was at the same point where I think it's interesting to note that both Hawass and Dr. Shaheen both recognized the important, valuable work that you and Lucy both did. With Shaheen as well at Cairo University, who actually awarded her for her technique, right? Could you
Yes, yes.
mention
She
that?
was given an award. She was, as a woman, that was not recognizable, but Dr. Shaheen did give that award to my wife, and everybody recognized the work that she did do. And had we worked there for another year, we may have been able to um, be in a position to show how to get into the pyramid. There is an entrance on the east side that we could get in. We actually found that that entrance. I think it was a later temple, built later. I'm not sure what time dynasty it was, but it was another entrance on the east side, and I believe that's what these shafts that we found were all about, and that I want to go on record that they were not the part of the labyrinth system that Lewis is talking about. Lewis is talking about outside of the pyramid. While there is an understanding that there was most likely entrances within the pyramid into the labyrinth, uh, uh, we had we don't have any confirmation on that.
Okay, so yeah, you had mentioned in our film that there's basically two reports went in, and that the report from the Polish team itself from the university ended up kind of just getting tossed
Yeah.
aside, but they
Well,
accepted yours, right, about the water
right. Okay.
specifically.
Well, because mine was a private study done just by me individually, um, they could accept that unofficially and give it to the next research team. But the official document by the University of Wroclaw was never ever recognized. No.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I think the really important points to drive home there is that basically by 2009, Zahi had a report in his hands of exactly what to do to fix this water damage. But that report, and at that point, he offered you a job on his own personal team, which is quite a way to say that he did respect the work you did. But for some reason, that report was never put into action. Actually follow through on this the plan you had made to fix the water, right?
Right. But we still have it in print, and if we can get a permit and hopefully working with Lewis and some other people, we can implement it.
Yeah. So this is similar evidence that Lewis has as well that he found at that time as well. So now this is kind of the point of having this whole conversation is that we have a stronger case than we've ever had before to first of all say we know how to fix the water. Even they have known how to fix the water for a long time, yet the ministry is still allowing the site to be damaged by the water rather than let us do these projects, even if we bring our own budget. So this is a really central theme we want to hit on all day today. So awesome. Thank you so much, Bill. And I think let's come back to Lewis for a minute and talk a little bit more about the earlier stuff before getting into the new, very exciting stuff. Um, I don't know if you have, I actually have some of the images from the Mataha expedition. Maybe I could just ask you to describe a couple of these ones. Um, can you see this right now?
Yes.
Yeah, so these were some of the ones. Do you want to mention? I can just jump through a couple of these. Or this is actually the, which one is this? Is this the, this was one of the papers I had about it. This is Dr. Abbas we're talking about with the NRIAG. But yeah, so do you want to tell us a little bit about these scans we're looking at? And I'll just let people look at them for a minute.
Yeah. So coming back to Dr. Abbas and the Natural Research Institute, is that because Bill let it like sound very easy to work with Natural Research Institute, because it took me quite almost 2 years to be able to be able to get them, how to say, as a part of the team, because they actually wanted like an official institutional partner to relate to. So because if you want to do some work in Egypt, it's not that you just walk to the Natural Research Institute in Egypt and that you say from, yeah, can you do this or that for me? Because it's a national institute, and they only work with very established partners. So not really like privately backhand type of things. So therefore, yeah, it was quite a challenge to find like such a partner, because they wanted like an archaeological mission, like you have the Polish archaeological mission of or the Italian, or like a department of that from a university. So I was able to actually make a deal, like a cooperation between the National Research Institute and the Ghent University. That
Which is
was
in
like a whole.
Belgium, right?
It's in Belgium, yes. So there at the department of Ghent University, we're very open into this cooperation. It's not really, especially from the Department of Archaeology itself, but the Department of Geophysics. Yeah. So and that was actually how I was able to integrate them into this team, and then able to apply for it. So it was also my main interest, and of the people actually also backing me was to find out if this labyrinth was still there or not, because now it seems so obvious in the sense that it's all these scans are done from the Polish and ours and all these satellite scans as well. But at the time, everybody said it's just nothing there. It's just like empty desert. The building is gone, like Patrice stated over 100 years ago. And that's in many ways is still the accepted academic view on Hawara. The only thing is that there is like a platform, like a foundation level that Flinders Petrie, the archaeologist who also entered the pyramid for the first time after all these thousands of years, he found this foundation layer at -5 meters, which is like 304 on 240 meters big, which is pretty huge. And he said, yeah, that's the foundation layer. The building on top of it is gone, only rubble, and that's it. So the whole mission of the Mataha Expedition back in 2008 was actually to see if there was still something below that foundation layer or not, because that foundation layer might as well be the roof, because Herodotus described the roof as like a giant stone plateau. And so therefore our main interest, or my main interest, was actually to scan the labyrinth zone. So, and that became one of the biggest surveys that the National Research Institute ever did. It's also important to state that why working with the National Research Institute, because they have also military clearance. So if you go to Egypt and you say, I'm going to do some GPR scans, that might be fine, but as soon as you start, how to say, using technologies that go way deeper than normal GPR, then you need to have like lots of permits, and that's something the National Research Institute can deliver. So because we didn't only use GPR, but we used also tomography, electromagnetics, electroresistivity, GEM, and all these kind of, I think, eight or nine different technologies. So one over the others gives you like a nice texture of what we are dealing with. Because if you only use one technology like GPR, sometimes, yeah, you see things very vaguely, but seeing the difficulties there with the shallow groundwater, GPR is actually very difficult to use because it's reflected back on the salt which is in the groundwater. So therefore, we needed lots of other technologies to really map the underground. And those scans that you see here are just on the side of the south side of the pyramid, the labyrinth area. So we have,
yeah,
I
this
think,
one kind of shows.
Yeah, very big plots of 100 and 140 meters, but we did actually 3 of those. Yeah, actually
Yeah,
we did
different locations, right?
different locations. So we scanned more or less like 3 or 4 football fields. Like I said,
Yeah,
yeah, the national
on this
research.
one, I think you did a couple sections right in this area, right? But one of them was even on the other side of the
on
canal as well, right?
on the other side of a canal, and we did
Yeah.
also the national research did also the pyramid as well. But the whole mission of this expedition on a practical level, besides seeing what's below this foundation zone, if the labyrinth is still there, if there are parts left, was actually to prepare for a drainage project. So that was the whole thing, to actually map and survey the area to prepare for a drainage project. And so, but that was also together with the engineer Gamrawi, which was one of the members, one of the councils of the Council of Antiquities. So he actually designed also like build it like a drainage project, which was actually presented at the Ghent University in 2008. In October, there was like a big public lecture where Alaeddin Shaheen, that also worked with the Polish team, and Bill, he was also present in the name as the Dean of Archaeology, and this Gamrawi. And so there we presented this thing as including these scans. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so Lewis, you just mentioned some really important stuff as well, basically confirming that just like Bill's project, your primary intention here was to actually preserve and protect, first and foremost, what was down there from the water damage. And I think both of you had a very clear secondary motive to prove that the labyrinth existed, which you both did quite successfully. So these are both very noble goals to pursue here. And in the end of it, something happened for you, Lewis, that you ended up having a public press conference through University of Ghent afterwards, right? And
Yeah,
just kind of
yeah,
like Bill had done at University of Cairo in 2009, you both kind of did a presentation of what you had found. But could you mention a little bit about the presentation of the material at Ghent and what happened immediately afterwards? You were actually basically censored, and I'm gonna stop screen sharing. Told not to share the results you had found. Could you talk a little bit about that?
So it took a couple of months before the National Research Institute actually went through all the data and compiled their scientific paper and so on. And then they actually organized a workshop at the National Research Institute itself in Helwan, in Egypt, and there most of the people of the Supreme Council of Antiquities were present. Zahi Abbas was not present, although he was like at that moment still the secretary of, but he sent several other persons to see what was presented, and so the whole all the data were presented like yeah, of course with a focus on the water situation, but as well with a clear outline that there was like huge structures underneath this 5-meter foundation level, which is all included in their scientific paper of the National Research Institute. And so at the time it was considered, okay, the word is out, it's publicly being released. So now, yeah, we are just free to actually communicate what the results are of the expedition and the survey. So when I came home in Ghent, they immediately the press started I'd say releasing the information, and we had like covers of Belgian magazines of huge discovery in Egypt, the labyrinth of Egypt, and everything, and that really triggered, how to say, quite some attention of Ghent University itself, because suddenly, although they were, how to say, just stepping in as a side partner of the whole project, suddenly they became like the front line of the whole thing, because one of these professors, yeah, he was working in somewhere in highs up in Norway. He was like constantly being called by all kinds of press all over the world, from ABC News to all these, yeah, newspapers and everything. So very shortly after, Ghent University said, we need to do like a big, how to say, public lecture, like not like a conference, but really like an open lecture about everything that we actually, how to say, scanned. And so there is like a clear communication what the position of the Ghent University was in all of it. And therefore, one of the most important things was the invitation to Ghent of all the people of the National Research Institute and several members of the Council of Antiquities. And that included Aladdin Shaheen, the Dean of Archaeology, who was, like Bill said, very he was going to be the second man of the first man after Zahi Hawass to take his position. And actually, he took his position at one time, but only for 3 months, because in the Arab Spring, Zahi Hawass was like, yeah, because he in Egypt, they know he has a reputation also to be like very corrupt, and so as soon as the regime fell, he also had to flee, because his name was very connected to the president at the time. So, and then in this chaos, Aladdin Shaheen was actually able to take over his position. So I think at the time it was not even Secretary General of the Supreme, but just before the Arab Spring, Zahi Hawass appointed himself Minister of Antiquities, because that was also like a political move, because actually he was too old officially to be Secretary of General, because he was normally has to be like retired. And so to solve that issue, he just assigned himself the name of Minister of Antiquities, so he
made
could
up
just
a new position.
yeah, he made up, and that position was taken over by Aladdin Shaheen, who wasn't he was present several years before at the Ghent University. And Zahi Hawass and also one of his good friends, and which is a very nice man, Professor Gamrawi. He was like an engineer, and he was one of the only engineers within the Supreme Council of Antiquities, and he also co-developed the drainage project based on what the Natural Research Institute was able to conclude. And so when that was released, and in the press conference itself in Ghent, like the public lecture, we had like different how to say American television companies like EBC and NBC and Universal, and so then it really exploded in the media, because yeah, definitely when you have like enormous institute as Ghent University backing the whole thing together with the National Research Institute, you have some really solid partners there, presenting that yeah, the labyrinth is still there, way deeper than those 5 meters, and huge structures, hundreds of rooms, thick walls, and everything. And then suddenly the script completely flipped. And the first thing was that Dr. Abbas called me. He said, yeah, you have to pull everything, because yeah, Zahi Hawass is furious that this thing actually bypassed him. Suddenly, yeah, he felt like overstepped, because he was the only one able to communicate these kind of yeah, discoveries. Something I personally was not aware of. Nobody actually communicated it. This was like, yeah, I thought we followed up all the steps, like the official way, like workshop in Egypt, which was like the full presentation. We had public lecture again. We all invited all these people from the Ministry of Antiquity who were present, so there was actually no problem. And suddenly I was put on the blacklist. I was not able to enter Egypt anymore. Otherwise, I was considered like together as a kind of how to say antiquity smuggler, thief type of thing. Years of prison. Then I was forced to actually take down the whole website, because I was building for almost 1 year on a website, putting all the information. The whole website needed to be taken down. All the newspapers were receiving messages from the press agencies, like Reuters, AP Press. They all get like memos to pull down the whole thing. And suddenly this whole thing in a matter of days was completely pulled out to media. And that was even for me like completely, how to say, mind-blowing, because I thought from what's going on, it's impossible that just one man, Zahi Hawass, is able to do this. It was like way bigger than I could ever imagine. It was several days before we had the full attention, and in a matter of days the whole thing was like completely put on the table. And it took many years actually till actually after the Arab Spring that I was able to move forward again. But there was a whole blackout throughout the whole media, the mainstream media.
Yeah, Hawass even said something like you had mentioned when you reported on it afterwards. I remember you saying that you and your team were actually kind of threatened with national security sanctions.
Yeah, sure, because
very
it was said.
interesting.
Yeah, it was said that all the team members were going to be, how to say, losing their positions, their jobs, their titles, everything. That actually was something that I think they did to Aladdin Shaheen as well, because he was a dean of archaeology, and then suddenly, he was taken out of the HAWARA project, and then he lost his position as the dean as well. So it's
very serious stuff.
Yeah, it's a very serious stuff. Yes. Yeah.
That's
the only next step that I became aware of something similar that over the whole world, because it was from as well as in Europe as in America, that the whole and the project was actually how to say blacklisted, was when the pandemic started. That was like the same thing, the same narrative suddenly all over the world. And so I think it was coming from the same people.
Well, you had put so much work, years into setting this up, getting together the funding. You've set up a whole like art campaign to raise money for it. You put your heart and soul into this thing for years, and then you found the labyrinth, just like Bill. Bill, was working there 3 years straight, and probably about $500,000 invested into that. I believe is inaccurate, roughly. so much investment of time, energy, and actual money you both put into this for them to ultimately come out and say, all right, you're done now, and keep quiet about it also. You both discovered what everyone imagined couldn't be possible, and you proved it was there. And then the Egyptians basically said, you can't be talking about that, or don't tell everyone what you found down there, pretty much. And the fact that he actually brought it to the point of national security issue is, I think, the segue into the next part of this story. Because it was only a couple weeks ago, I think we really found out why this was a matter of national security to Egypt. So I think that's amazing stuff we've covered already here, but now it's time to get into the new material. Um, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Some of the stuff Lewis just put out a blog post, a couple of two-part article that was brilliantly written, by the way, and I thank you so much. You're a great writer, Lewis. It was very well done, explaining the story of part of the evidence that was actually acquired back in that earlier time, not quite the 2007 to 9 time, but closer to when Carmen was working there, I believe, in the 2014-15 area. There was some more work done that got some incredible evidence, but it was placed under kind of non-disclosure agreements for 10 years. And you just released it a few weeks ago, and it basically blew my mind. And everyone who has read it so far is now amazed by what you said. So I want to see if we can get into that a little bit. And if you want to share some of your slides, you can screen share as well, Lewis. But
Yeah.
let's start talking about this new material. Do you want to introduce that subject in general?
Yeah, sure. Actually, there are two sources. So first, you have the source which was involved, where Dr. Carmen Bolter was involved, the documentary maker of the Pyramid Code, which
Yeah.
is I think it's
And
on
by the way,
Gaia.
we would have invited her as well, but she sadly passed a few years ago. So we want to thank Carmen Bolter, Dr. Carmen Bolter, for the amazing work she did there. And I think everyone who knows anything about Hawara knows that she's very greatly missed. And her Pyramid Code film is amazing. She was working on another Atlantis documentary project just before she died as well, which I think everyone wishes they could have seen. It would have been pretty amazing, but I just wanted to stick that in there. Sorry. But she is a very important part of this all, and we should recognize her role in it. Wish she was here and could be part of this discussion today with us, but just want to stick that in. Sorry.
Yeah, the Pyramid Code is I think still on Gaia TV. So if people are interested
Or
to watch the
YouTube.
whole
You can
and
watch it all
YouTube
on
as
YouTube,
well.
I think.
Yes, on YouTube the quality is very poor. I have to say the resolution. Yeah, so on Gaia TV it's I think a better resolution. And so she got involved because one of my partners, Andrew Barker, like I very living close by at the time up here in the mountains of the Sierra Nevada where I live. Yeah, he was able to get her on board, and then very soon after, because Andrew and myself were had the idea to write a book, so we were like doing research to write a book on the labyrinth and the Hawara project and so on. She got involved, Dr. Carmen Bolter, and immediately, because she was also like one of the board members of the Bosnian pyramids committee there, and which Klaus Donner was also one of these board members there, and so from that contact, she said, yeah, we can actually do like satellite scanning, yeah, with this company which is called Geoscans. And then Andrew Barker, so my partner, he was able to provide the funding to do that scan. And so when those scans came, they actually revealed that yeah, we were dealing with way bigger structures that I actually ever imagined. Because the thing is that my how to say understanding of the labyrinth itself comes from the ancient writers like Herodotus, Strabo, Plinius, which always said from, okay, there are two levels, one above ground and one underground, and each level has like 1,500 rooms. So my assumption was with this plane, that this foundation layer that Flinders Petrie found, was is that layer actually the roof of the whole building, or is it, how to say, the first floor, and that the underground part is still there? So it looked like it's the second thing, so that the above structure is gone, but that there's this underground structure, but that's is actually not that deep. So the mother rock is around 18 meters. I think that, yeah, the Polish mission actually confirmed that the mother rock. But what this company, the satellite company, actually scanned was, so they skipped the whole zone of from 0 to -18, and they went completely deep down, because this technology has no issue with depth. So they are like the recent Caffrey team. So the depth is not really like a problem. So they go like hundreds of meters, kilometers deep.
You had showed me that they claimed they could go down to 6 kilometers.
Yes,
And
yes.
both of your teams, just quick, like neither of you ever could really see maybe deeper than like 20 meters max. Is that roughly accurate?
Yeah, so around 20 meters, yeah, and
That was about
beyond,
the max
because
for the GPR.
Because there were some things. GPR was not that deep because of shallow groundwater, and GPR mostly goes around 10, 15. But the other ones like electromagnetics, yeah, they went way deeper. But it's very, how to say, not so, how to say, it's difficult to put like a real depth on it, but definitely way deeper than this 5 meters.
The
and
geoscan
so,
went way deeper.
Yeah, and so they went way deeper, and they saw these huge underground spaces, like 70 meters long on 50 meters wide, and so like mind-blowing stuff. And then it became immediately, immediately aware that it's not a building, it's more like picked out of the bedrock. So it's not really like constructed like with, it's really like an underground complex, like an underground,
like a shopping mall or an airport. It's something huge.
That was so like really big, and with halls and so on connected to each other. And also immediately they were talking about different layers, because they were able to actually distinguish several layers, like one layer deeper than the other. We had like a layer -20, 30, then one of -40, 50, and then one -60, 80. So there were like layers on top. So then we start imagining from, okay, which are the oldest one? Maybe the oldest ones are the ones who are not that deep, and then the new ones are built underneath it, like in Paris, like you have like the catacombs. But if they wanted to build the metro station, the metro ways, they had to go under even deeper than so start reflecting on these things. But then, it went how to say, belly up, in the sense that Carmen Bolter wanted to integrate this in her New Atlantis series. And she was indeed the person who was bringing in Klaus Donner and the geoscans. And then we had actually Andrew and myself also involved in writing this book. So, and suddenly she decided actually to release all the information. So to say, we cannot wait this thing, we must communicate it right now, right here, and actually not wait till we got this permission application ready to confirm what actually we had scanned. Because it's a way of strategy, because our strategy was going to be more from, okay, if we have to make a realistic, how to say, shot at being able to do something at Hawara, it's maybe better not to give extra attention to it and keep low profile. Although the National Research Institute's resulting was already big enough. Yeah. So we said, yeah, it's way better to not actually involve these scans, because National Research Institute together with Ghent, they are very solid, credible scientific partners. The geoscans is another ball game, because you are dealing with, how to say, a technology which is unknown. There's no scientific papers. There's no
proprietary. It's a withheld. The actual method is withheld because they're a company that use it, which is understandable. Yes. They just prove their accuracy based on testimonials of contractors, clients who have used them for commercial purposes and stuff. So you can see Geoscans has some testimonials from different clients.
Mining and water and other kinds of they are just have their client base, and I think the clients are really not really seeking for how to say attention or so but
no, mostly private projects.
I think also maybe there were some reasons to get some funding in for her documentary project, because that was always the big issue with her. She needed quite some budgets to actually realize the new Atlantis. Although she's one of these most amazing documentary makers, she was having enormous difficulties to find funding. So then the whole thing was released, and even in alt media, it wasn't really picked up like she expected. I think just because maybe of the, how to say, shadowy from where it was coming. So
well, she did do I mean, I think a big part of what she ended up showing with those models, which really helped, was she did show that there were 2 levels specifically, and the models are color coded with red and blue. And what was interesting was she was basically saying, for one thing, she had some good slides she made with analogies to help you understand the size. For instance, she said that at least 5 of these chambers were larger in volume than an Olympic-sized swimming pool, which is like the size of a small department store, basically, which gave some context to it. And she really got into the volume of area that's down there in total, and things like that. But it was interesting also that they said the higher level of chambers was flooded, and the chambers below that were not flooded. So the ones below we could get into, they're dry right now, it would seem. So somehow they're totally sealed off from each other, and the higher one was flooded while the lower was not, which is interesting. I think it'd be the opposite, but that was one of the big I mean, besides the fact that we had just never seen down that deep at all, or had any idea of the magnitude or the total scale, how deep it was going and how many chambers. So it was kind of a confirmation of that it was multiple levels, and that these chambers were enormous, and that there were many of them. But that was around the same time as we actually had these other scans as well. So maybe we could get into the other scans no one knows about yet.
And then at the same time, because Carmen Bolter definitely wanted those scans. She released those scans, and we were like having a vacuum there with the team. So then Andrew Barker actually came into contact with this man called Tim Akers in the UK, Harrogate based, and very coincidental, because he was also into satellite scanning. He worked for the British military, and he was retired Always worked at the Harrogate base in England, which is one of the biggest satellite, how to say, observatory data sites in the whole world. They work with the CIA and NSA and so on. It's yeah, you can find everything on Wikipedia on that site, and so he was really excited, and then Andrew actually commissioned an alternative scan just to make a comparative study to see from what a totally different company would actually scan, and a different just because the more people are doing things, and to see how the second opinion type of thing. So, and because beside maybe what he was able to see on how to say the Carmen Bolter release, he came up with this other scan, which was actually very mind blowing for us, because compared to the scans of Carmen Bolter's connections, it was completely three-dimensional.
Actually, do you want to just do you want to share that scan while you're talking about it? Can you screen share it, or
the scans of Merlin Barrows? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If you have.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole thing was with the Carmen Bolter scans. These were actually more like drawings on a Google Map image. So because there are 3D models created based on those drawings on this Google Map, but that was done by one of Carmen Bolter's partners, Michael Donnellan, the documentary maker. He was very good at doing 3D stuff as well, and so
he helped build the model. You're saying based on the scans?
Yeah, so it was just an interpretation of these how to say drawings that we received, which are basically like, how to say, Google Map images with accurate type of how to say lines mapping out the sizes, and then we had the description of the colors in comparison to the depth, the respective depth. And so, but in essence, this 3D model didn't exist. That's just created out of, how to say, in a very rough way.
Out of data interpretation.
Yes, data interpretation.
This one was more direct, I think.
So this one is more direct, way more detailed, and also very telling, because Bill was also talking about, because up here we have you see my cursor moving?
Yeah.
So we have the pyramid here. It's actually here because we see the rooms of the underneath the pyramid itself, but it's surrounded by all these shafts. So Geoffrey Tazzi, Dr. Geoffrey Tazzi of the University College London, actually recognized those shafts, and he said they might be similar like Persian tomb shafts, which are 20 to 30 meters deep shafts, burial shafts. We find them also at Saqqara.
Saqqara, I was going to say.
Yes. And so these might be not really, how to say, entrances, but more like tomb shafts, and they really go really deep, and that's all in a much later period. So what we also see, which is that the University College professor also said, from up here you see like a moat, like a dry moat, which moat is something that they actually dug around castles. But also at Saqqara recently they found like a dry moat around the whole complex, and so we see something very similar here. And also because it's very, you have an impression of 3D, and it's 3D, but the colors indicate also the depth. So the more darker up here, the deeper. So we have also these layers that actually very similar, like the Dr. Carmen Bolter scans done by GeoScan, like 20 meters, 40, 50, and deeper. So, but what is very visual up here is that there's this kind of enormous central space, which was like seen by the makers who presented this whole thing in Harrogate as a giant kind of shopping mall hall, like an atrium of a shopping mall. So where you're standing in the middle, and then you see all these layers and different
All the
levels.
different floors are all
Yeah.
coming together, open into this central area. That was a great metaphor. Yeah. And
Yes.
he said that was 64 by 160 meters, I believe. That is a huge, huge chamber. So so this is incredible. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. Like you're saying, these colors are representing, I mean, this one single image is actually showing us information about several of the different levels. And yeah, that central chamber is one of the areas where all the levels are opened up to each other, it would seem.
This section in the very heart is a cube. Initially, it was thought to be bigger, like 80 on 80, but it's when you overlay the scan on Hawara itself, it's more like towards the 44 meters. So, and this is this atrium. So from up here to the big atrium hall, there's like a giant kind of passage, like a giant entrance door to this central cube type of space. And this one was also of interest. It's a circle with a diameter of around 30 meters, or a little bit less. But the thing was that several authors like Albert Schlossmann, which was a French computer scientist and Egyptologist, he translated the Book of the Dead, and he had a very particular way of interpreting the hieroglyphs, and so he was able to actually not only tell the whole story that is mentioned in the Book of Death of the survivors of Atlantis, but also the story on the circle of gold. It's like a round hall where all the mathematical calculations of the sun are integrated, and suddenly this thing shows up.
Is that the part that you were saying was maybe a giant domed hall, like with a
Yes,
domed
yes,
ceiling?
it's a dome, yeah.
Roughly the
Yeah.
size of the Pantheon in Rome, you were saying?
Yeah, so very,
Or
it's more like
comparable?
the one there in Istanbul. Yeah, so because the Pantheon is really big, it's like 40 plus meters. So this one is 8 or 9 meters less. Yeah, so
That's amazing. Yeah.
and then
And was he also saying, I think Tim was indicating that like, for instance, in the top left area, you can see all this black. I think he was saying that black is the very top level. Like the black spots are maybe just the kind of things that you were both sensing earlier on. And
yeah,
all
so
the colors are underneath that.
we have the black on the side, which he called like default. That's just, there's
Right.
nothing there, so it's because it's not scanned. But the black specks on are actually the top layers, and these are like artifacts, mummies, stones,
Tombs, maybe.
tombs as well. Yeah, that's the very top layers. Yeah, and then we have on this one we see the dome shafts. We see the different layers. We see the moat going around it, which is like it looks like an omega, because in the front it's like one straight line. So up here in the front, the complete south side is one straight line. So and he was how to say concluding that the entrance must be somewhere here on the south side. It's also very interesting to see that the National Research Institute's scans indicated that the whole Hawara complex that was out of angle compared to the pyramids, with several degrees,
The
like 21 degrees.
orientation.
The orientation, and we have the same thing with this building as well. Up here as well, you don't see any. The water channel is not present, but it runs more or less across on this side. What else is that? Because in this space, which is actually a little bit bigger than we, so this thing is what they call this kind of, how to say, Stargate. Yeah, because the whole thing about this is it doesn't fit in this thing. It's complete different material signatures.
Right. Well,
so
the methods they were using, and Geoscan as well said they could do this, but I think Tim was also saying that they do have the ability to actually detect various materials, and that this is probably one of the most amazing, I mean, definitely the highlight of this entire reveal was this object. He said that he had scanned there what he called a 40-meter freestanding object, but which he said was a metallic object and made of a metal that he had never detected before.
Yes.
Right.
So and then coming back to Tim himself, because he worked all his life, definitely the last several decades of his career for the British military, specialized in satellite scanning. So the thing is that these technologies are around for several decades. So when he was actually, how to say, asked by Andrew to scan the labyrinth, he actually asked his team members, former team members within the military complex, to actually, how to say, process these data. It's the same thing with the Kafri team. Once you have the satellite images, like the radars, tomographies, so then you have to process it in a computer program to deduct actually the scans themselves out of it. So he had like a very simple version, Tim Makers, of this technology that he developed on its own based on what he knew and was part of at the time. But the main, how say, software that was used by the military was the one who actually came up with these scans. Because even in his presentation at Harrogate, he was constantly referring from they did a great job. So yeah, that was actually, how to say, done by processed by those military computers.
Yeah, the British military, some of those sensors and processing software and equipment. This is the top equipment in the world, maybe, to to actually be processing that.
And that's the type of ability that they are. That's the state of the art. So what we're seeing there is actually
Okay. Well, there's a couple of other things I would love to touch on within this image too. But first of all, I just want to bring Bill back in here. Bill, do you want to mention anything about when this first came in? When this first came out, a couple weeks, this was maybe 3 weeks ago, Lewis first released this image. What did you think when you first saw this? Did this blow your mind, Bill?
Yeah, I kept asking for details of what the colors were. That I was trying to get the detail, what this was all about, and you've gone into explaining that. So yeah, it totally blew my mind.
Yeah, we were aware there's something of this scale, but
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I know it blew your mind. I know it blew my mind because we were talking about it. We're always right on this stuff. And we were both already talking to Lewis about this. In fact, we were already talking about having this exact conversation for a year or more now. We've been saying, all right, the three of us should just get into Hawara and cover all this information of what you guys have both done at first. But I was still trying to set this up to just have this three-way conversation between us all before Lewis released this a few weeks ago. And
exactly.
then yeah, so this is roughly what you thought we might be seeing down there, Bill, and it's a confirmation of stuff you might say.
Yeah, yeah. The conceptual idea of what everybody's talking about. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
And
Lewis is going to give more details about what it really is all about. I'm still trying to figure it out.
yeah, and it's also interesting, Lewis, what you said about the orientation of it being off from the pyramid, because the pyramid is basically directly to the cardinal directions oriented. But if this is not, if it's slightly off, then I know I wish I had the name on hand, but I forget. There are some people who have been looking into this, looking very closely into the orientation of these temples, saying that they can actually suggest roughly what date these things were made, because if they're pointing to true north, that could have been different if the pole had shifted over time. You might be able to use the orientation, say, of the labyrinth compared to the pyramid to say, okay, well, the labyrinth must have been this many thousands of years earlier because it's oriented to the pole when it was in a different position. So that's possibly something we could look at here, or it's possibly one of the implications. But I think that's pretty important as well.
Yeah, the astroarchaeological aspect of it, because that's also mentioned in Patrick Gerald's book, because you have these authors, I think, yeah, Robert Boval, who aligns the pyramids to Orion. And Carmen Bolter goes even further on it, that every pyramid and every temple are related to certain stars. And this one actually features the pyramid itself features the star Aldebaran, and very a little bit underneath Aldebaran you have this star cluster which is called even the labyrinth. So in this way, and then you had this astro archaeologist, which is named Gino Rettings. He was able to date this structure based on his research and the out of angle inclination, that it's more or less 7,500 BC, but that's was with the out of angle of the upper buildings. Yeah, so not this. So it might be that these might be even older, but so far
Wow.
it's not yet dated. I think
Yeah.
yeah. So the Cafre team, Armando May, he's also talking about structures who are like I don't know, it's like 38 or 36,000 years.
30,
Yeah.
36,000, yeah.
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 So
Yeah, he's
no,
putting it
no.
back in that time range
Yeah.
at least. Yeah.
The time of
Which,
the Zeptipi, the first time, the time
Mhm.
of yeah, the gods.
yeah,
So
these are dates that John Anthony West was actually discussing a while back, and he was referencing things like the Turin Papyrus and the Palermo Stone and some of the King's lists that, depending on your range of calculation of how
yes,
you count it all up, it's still
yeah,
generally putting it back potentially to the range of like 30 to 36,000 years, even he was saying. But yeah, when most people talk about Zep Tepe or the first time of the gods, they generally are either going to put it right at this 10,500 BC date, which we see very importantly noted in the archaeoastronomy of Giza specifically, and this age of Leo. But we know in the precessional cycle, every 26,000 years it comes back. So if you go from 10,000 back to 36,000, you're going another full precessional cycle back to the previous age of Leo, which
yes.
a lot of this lion symbolism of the Sphinx and whatnot is referencing to Leo and to the age of Leo. So John West was saying, the Sphinx in Giza might be from 10,500 BC or the last age of Leo, 36, around that point. It's 36,000 BC. That's pretty old. But
Exactly.
yeah, that's one interesting thing we could look at. Um, Now, I guess the most amazing thing that we really need to hammer home for the world is this structure inside. So Tim was saying, and you wrote in your report recently, Lewis, that this was, like I say, 64 by 160 meters, I think is what you wrote specifically, is that long chamber in the middle that's connected to the cubic room. And yeah, he said that this object, 40 meters long, was a freestanding object of a metal that he had never seen the signature of before. It seemed as if a metal that hadn't been discovered before, possibly an off-planet type of metal. He was even suggesting that some have already started to say, is this a spaceship? Is this a Stargate? Is it some extraterrestrial technology, basically? Or
Yeah,
how did
because
they
he
make a?
knew he knew that it was like freestanding, so it was not part of the building. He also mentioned that it might be like a circle thing, hollow, like more like a ring, like a Shen ring, like this kind of Egyptian amulets. He also said maybe it's like a tic-tac type of how to say spaceship even. But then the question was, how did it get so deep down there? And the other idea was maybe it was like just like a dish type of thing, like also a spaceship that is like put up erected next to the wall, something like this. But that would be strange why in the past they would actually put these type of flying things there. So then it might be like
Yeah,
a Roswell type of. I assume it's more like in the range of like, yeah, it's more like giant Shen type of
yeah.
objects like that you see in these movies about stargates or so. But
Well,
of course
it's
the question is where is then the energy coming from? But on the other side, yeah, you have also like under CERN, under Geneva, you have the CERN complex, which is also like a very big circle type of um,
yeah,
gate. Or so it might be that the whole thing there it was like a sophisticated research station. Um,
yeah,
so it opens many. Yeah, it's there are so many questions that pop up. Was it
yeah.
like an ancient survival bunker of a civilization who knew that we were going to deal with some major cataclysms, or was it after all like some kind of giant underground spiritual initiation center?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Where exactly on the map are we talking about that? Can you point that out?
the what, Bill?
The exact location where, can you show on the pointer where, yeah, this black
Uh,
area here. That's what I thought. Okay.
yes, yeah,
Confirm.
yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing is that Tim said that because these satellites are not always able to fly straight over um, the side, and sometimes from the side or sometimes from the left, because it's not just one satellite, it's many different ones together mapped in a level. So he said that this thing, yeah, seems not to fit in the thing, but it's the inaccuracy has to do with how to say with this how
Maybe
the
the
way the
Doppler
satellites.
effect.
Yeah, yes.
That's part of
So
what the
because
Coffer
it's
project
it's
is.
like they call it the master, because all those different layers are compressed into one. Um, and
Yeah.
and 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 even it looks very, how to say, three-dimensional. It's still you need quite a lot of, yeah, how to say, interpretation to know what you are actually seeing. Like
Yeah.
up here as well, you have like two black spots here at the top, and those are the two rooms underneath the pyramid itself. And that's also how we come actually with the idea of how to enter this underground complex, because
Right.
you could actually go from up here, but the most, yeah, because I'm gonna have a little sip. Yeah, so the pyramid itself, like we see today, has an underground structure, and it looks very so that the underground of the pyramids, yeah, was actually not an original part. Yeah, that they actually just built the pyramid on top of it.
Yeah, an entrance
Featuring
added later,
yes, yes. So
which was
has
also
to do with,
well, it's
yeah,
interesting. I just want to say that they attribute that pyramid to Amenemhat, not Hotep, Amenemhat the Third, which he was in the 12th dynasty, and it's interesting as well that they attribute the Black Pyramid at Dashur to him also,
yes,
and also one or two potentially of the pyramidions that are in the Cairo Museum today, these black pyramid capstones. And it's very curious that as well they found materials within those pyramidions, which they say is clearly an off-planet metal, is at least part of the composite of that material. So this could have been like iron from a meteorite potentially, but it also raises this question of the extraterrestrial question, which I'm not going to jump to conclusions based on how much information we have so far. But if based on the work I've been doing with William, for one thing, there's certainly, I've seen a lot of evidence that there definitely is, let's say at least a cosmic connection between Egypt and ancient Egypt. There is a lot of evidence for actual extraterrestrial involvement in different ways, or different, at least objects that were made with materials that came from off planet, but potentially direct extraterrestrial contact with the civilization in ancient times. So if Amenemhat, he's got pyramidions he's built that have off-planet metals in them, and now we're seeing that I don't think Amenemhat actually built the labyrinth. I think the labyrinth was something that was extremely ancient, even in the 12th dynasty when he came, and maybe he added the pyramid at that time, or added onto it, or did some work there. But it's interesting that, he was building these supposedly pyramidions that had off-planet materials, and now we're seeing a type of metal that has a signature that's never been detected before by Tim Akers, who's using this top, British intelligence military technology to analyze it. From both of these sides, we see something that could be potentially off-planet metals being used in construction. And yeah, you're talking about the Shen ring as well. That's an Egyptian symbol that it's like a cartouche that you have the royal names were shown in, but it's shortened from an oval down to a circle with like a flat part on the bottom. It looks like a omega symbol basically, except it's connected at the bottom instead of open. So it's interesting too, just that my friend Wayne Herschel, he's done a lot of research on this, and he has come up with a theory that I was kind of coming towards as well, that the Shen symbol is actually a symbol meaning Stargate, essentially, or a portal, or some kind of connective technology that somehow is either, connected to other locations, or straight up a Stargate you could even travel to. Sure, possibly. But let me ask you again, Bill. Bill, what do you think about that object? What's your guess? You think it's a Stargate, a spaceship, or
I would, my feeling is that it is definitely yes.
one of the two?
One of the two,
Yeah.
yes. I would go with Stargate,
Mhm. Yeah.
but based on intuition, but we need to just go down there and find out for sure, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. We're just having fun speculating on it because obviously no one has ever seen this thing in person. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Herodotus got a peek at it, but that was like 5th century BC. We have no idea who was the last human being to ever witness that chamber, get in there. Maybe it's been explored. Maybe they already know. Maybe this is the reason why Zahi called it a matter of national security.
Yeah.
It would
It's
seem.
also
Yeah.
important to say with the term hackers, because this scan is now like 10 years old. So we had like indeed like this kind of non-disclosure agreement with the Merlin Barrows and these the people involved in the team. But one of the biggest reason that it's like released now is that has to do with the Guthrie team, and that really opened up the possibility and the paradigm that we might be dealing with way bigger things that we previously could imagine. But also as well is that Tim Eckers really feared for his own life when this was going to be released. And he also died recently. So and that was one of the promises as well to release these scans
Yeah.
accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
he knew that the scans were very connected to very sophisticated military programs and so on, and that the implications of what we are dealing with is way beyond what we actually how to say the humanities might be ready for.
yeah. Is the consciousness of the
Definitely.
planet ready for it or not?
Yes,
And,
yes.
and in some of these cases as well, I will say that there could be some actual decent reasons for withholding certain things until, the public is really ready for it. Um, and I don't know if that's really ever been the case. I think humanity is ready for it. I think now is the time, and I'm glad it's been safely preserved until now. And I'm not going to jump to the conclusion, of course, and say we know what this is, but a 40-meter metal object, this really forces us to question what is that thing down there. It's not we can't just say it's something. I don't know, just that fact alone, 40 meters long and metallic, and then to say that it's a type of metal he hadn't detected before, your mind has to go to some places where you say, they call Zawiya al area and the pyramid by the Giza that's now circumscribed by an entire military base. That's what they call the Area 51 of Egypt. But I'm starting to think that Hawara is the Area 51 of Egypt, the real one. Um, and I know we've actually been going for quite a while. I've not been keeping time exactly, but I just wanted to cover all of these points. There's one other thing I want to say that's for the less jumping all the way into is this a spaceship or a Stargaze? Seems like it has to be basically something like that. Tim was also talking about some ships that were actually wooden boats, like the Khufu solar boat. He said there
Yes.
was two of them here. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we have one up here at the right. There was this kind of boat. It's like, but these are like wooden boats. So he had like a weak point for boats because he's this with the marine background that he had and all. So so this thing is like a wooden boat, and we had also one somewhere in this area. Yeah, also a ship like solar barges, but those ones, it's not the blue, but somewhere in this area, and because those are not at the same depth of the underground structure itself. They are more like maybe yeah -10 or something. But yeah,
So they're closer to the surface.
yeah, and he had this kind of own theory that they might be related to Cleopatra. And then within the videos that they actually recorded of him presenting everything up here, And Andrew also mentioned that they found several big blocks on the top, which make references to Cleopatra. So, considering that the Hawara necropolis was one of the major burial places for thousands of years, even all the way to the late Ptolemaic areas, it might be not that crazy that even Cleopatra would be buried somewhere at Hawara as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Actually, I think Petrie,
Yeah.
didn't he find like a whole bunch of, in the upper levels? I think he found a ton of Roman era paintings in there,
Yeah,
I
the
believe.
the Faiyum portraits, because that's why
Yeah,
the site is so world famous, because the first, how to say, modern type of paintings of portraits are found at Hawara. So the world famous Faiyum portraits, Faiyum mummy portraits are all found
yeah.
on Hawara
So
itself. Yeah, and
Roman,
many
yeah,
Ptolemaic, like Greek, Egyptian, and also later Roman. Yeah,
yeah,
because we have also a basilicum there. Early Christianity actually developed very close by. So the Coptic Christians, that's where they actually started the first monasteries in the whole world. Uh, Actually, at the edge of Hawar. So the site is like steeped in history. Even the whole Fayoum oasis is way older than yeah the Nile Valley itself, because up there they were
yeah,
protected against the flooding, and they had also several harvests a year, in contrast to only one in the valley itself.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and what also very important to know is that many people think from, okay, in the ancient times the ships came in from the delta towards the head capitals, but it wasn't so. So after on the side of Alexandria, there were big lakes, and there were connected with channels, and one of these channels connected to Lake Moeris, and from Lake Moeris there was like another channel towards the Nile, and Hawara was actually straight at the entrance of at the beginning of this channel. So all the trade in the past all had to come across the Hawara side. So Hawara was an enormously important strategic place as well, because
Yeah.
all the trade and all the boats and all the who are coming from the Mediterranean needed to across Hawara to be able to go to the Nile. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Well, we know there was also two massive pyramids in the middle of Lake Maris. Lake Maris was basically the
Yes,
giant lake of Fayoum. It's
yes,
smaller than it used to be, we think, but we have even these engravings of these beautiful
yes, yeah,
drawings of the two giant pyramids, which are about roughly equivalent to maybe the Khafre pyramid at Giza in size, very big pyramids. And we have records of them, but they're totally gone now. Matt Simpson at Ancient Architects, he did a pretty good video about where he thinks the location of those pyramids might be. But hand in hand with that, we also know there are legends and stories from locals today, even saying that there are tunnels going all the way from Giza to Fayoum, connecting directly potentially to the Hawara labyrinth from the Giza tunnels. Some of them that just might even be aqueducts that would have pulled water from Lake Maris up to Giza, and some that would have been potentially used where you could walk underground from Giza all the way just to connect the sites. So that's a really important part of it too. Bill and I have been talking to several people about these long range tunnel systems that connect Giza all the way to Aswan and everything in between, the entire length of the Nile, the entire north to south of Egypt, and probably right on into Sudan as well. But these long range tunnels connect all these underground cities up and throughout the Nile. Um, so that's amazing. We've got a huge metallic central object in the middle of a huge, enormous central atrium chamber of the entire complex. And then towards the surface, maybe some of the things we could just start with would be looking at some of these wooden boats, these ships, the solar boat looking ships. And that would be one stage in the awakening of breaking open the consciousness of the planet to be mentally preparing for getting towards this metallic ship and or stargate and or object of some type. So I think we should get into the wrapping up stage here because I think we have been
Yeah.
going on for a while, but maybe we can talk a little
Yes.
bit about the plan. What we're doing now is we're trying to bring all this new information and old information together in order to make the ultimate case for
Mm.
creating the groundwater solution, implementing the process of actually fixing the water problem, and B, getting down into the labyrinth while it's drained, filming, documenting all of it, and hopefully making, finding a permanent fix for the water so that the water table will be lower and tourists can even go and visit and go down into the labyrinth. But at least for starters, I think our goal is to protect it from the water and get a complete video documentation of it. And I think I am actually just getting for the first time a 360-degree camera. I'm getting into photogrammetry, and we can actually be working on photographically mapping every single space. We could do a pass through it and just build a model where essentially anyone in the world could jump on their computer and walk through these chambers. I think it would be so amazing to provide that to the world. And it would be completely possible. Basically, we know the entrance based on the work you guys have both done. We know the entrances. We know how to drain the water. We know how to protect it from the water. We have four different teams at this point. Mataha Expedition, Bill's team with Lucy, the Carmen Bolter's team with Geoscan, and Merlin Burroughs and Tim Akers. These are four different views of what's down there at different levels in the pyramid, south of the pyramid. We have so much information, and we have the plan to actually protect it and document it. So I guess I want to hand that thought over to you, Bill, quick. Can you give us some of your final thoughts about this? What do you think we should be doing specifically or focusing on, or how should we go about this, getting into a new project and proposing a new project so that we can make sure the ministry will let us do what needs to be done this time?
Well, I think we need to work towards a mutual collaboration of multiple projects throughout Egypt and highlight obviously Hawara and Giza as the main function, but I'm hoping that over the next 5 to 10 years that we'll have a project that will open up not only Egypt but the rest of the world. So the whole idea right now is to start putting a team together and focus on specific areas. I know that we're looking, hopefully by the end of this year, at least stepping a spade at Giza and maybe a shovel at Hawara. That would
Yeah,
be my goal.
absolutely. Yeah. I think also I didn't mention, but I have spoken with the Coffer Project about this, especially a couple of weeks ago, and we were together in person at the Cosmic Summit conference, and I told them basically what you just said, that aside from Giza, Awara is the top priority. There's nothing that could be more important. This is absolutely so. I mean, it's also you could fit half the temples in Egypt inside Hawara. That's the scale we're talking about. This could be, as I've called it in the past, potentially a backup copy of all the knowledge of Egypt. And if you go to these different temples, you see multiple registers of texts and inscriptions just wrapping every single wall of the temples. Some of these single temples alone have so many texts. It's like 5, 10 Bibles long. You know, if you actually turn it into books, that's how big it would be. And so Hawara could be like a master copy of all of that. So it does have so many things about it are clearly showing us that it's a repository of records and technology as we're seeing now. So yeah, that's exactly. I think we all need to do a cooperative effort, which is why I'm so glad that you two, both the two people I respect most on the Hawara project, that you both took the initiative to set up these projects right off the bat. And what you both did from 2007 to 9 opened up for everyone else to see that Hawara is something that's still there that needs to be looked at. Certainly, at least this new information, whatever this metallic object is, we can say for sure that it's something that requires further study at the very least. Um, so also, I guess, bring it back to you, Lewis, also to do some conclusion and final thoughts on this. What do you think about this? How should we move forward to try and get the next project set up for Hawara?
For me, because how to say, the pyramid itself is submerged by groundwater. It even works as a wick, so the water level inside the pyramid itself is higher than the water level surrounding, because it really sucks up all the surrounding water. So, and in some way, it's awful that this giant building is affected by the salty groundwater, which is actually destroying the whole understructure of the pyramid itself. But in some way, it's also like an enormous leverage to push the authorities to actually open up preservation projects, because over 100 years, this building is affected by groundwater. It's the only pyramid left in Egypt which is in it's such a dire state. It's actually the last pyramids ever built of that size. So in any way, the authorities, they have no how to say, they cannot actually be against a team who says from we are going to preserve this whole site. So it's not even about how to say destructive archaeology or excavations, really about preservation. And by preserving the site and the pyramid, we will open up immediately and spontaneously the entrance towards this underground enigma. So that's what I'm actually standing and promoting for. So it's actually trying to bring these two worlds together: the academic and the people who are into preservation, and also on the other side, the people who wants to explore and start understanding what's hidden deeper at Hawara.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's at the very root of it. We have absolute proof that it is one of the greatest architectural, one of the greatest achievements of any type of humanity in the entire history of the world, and that it is actively being damaged right now, and that we do have an actual plan to prevent that damage. And in fact, the authorities have had their hands on that plan since 2009. And for 16 years, they have not acted on it. So I think this is the real message we want to be showing everyone right now, is that we have the plan to fix it. It's an absolute archaeological crime not to implement the plan to drain the water now, because they are actively allowing it to get damaged. The only excuse you could possibly, give for not doing it is not having the money or funding, but we are also bringing that this time. We're working on bringing the funding ourselves, and we have friends who are now very, very committed to helping us with that. Plus, we're going to get more info from the Coffer Project too. They are going to scan Hawara very soon to help with this. So we're bringing more information than we've ever had before. We've got two of the original team leaders who set up the expeditions to prove this exists and that it is being damaged and there is a way to fix that. And we are committed to cooperating and working together to try and pull in others who have worked there. We're open to working with anyone, and we're going to ask Dr. Hawass and everyone else who's involved in the ministry to absolutely just pay attention to the new data we've brought forward and take a stand, take some action. Let us do this project. Let us work there. We're going to go in, document carefully, and fix the active damage that is still destroying the greatest archeological piece of heritage that belongs to the entire human race and which can potentially propel us forward into a new golden age. You know, if it is from this previous age of advanced civilization, which is not crazy, it's not a conspiracy, it's based on so much evidence. I mean, for instance, also there's a site in Faiyum called Qasr al-Saga. If you go to that, this is a temple. It's a very, very interesting temple. It's just a small one out in the middle of nowhere, but well, it's not in the middle of nowhere. There's some other significant things near it, but it's another example that there were, I believe, structures in Faiyum that were going back to this very early Zip Tepi type period, because you can see that temple has the exact same type of architectural style, for instance, as the Osirian or the Valley Temple or Sphinx Temple at Giza. So, yeah, we know that Faiyum is such an ancient place. There are very, very ancient things there. There's no reason to believe that Hawara was from the dynastic period at all. You know, it's, I think, very clearly pre-dynastic, at least what's underground, if not the pyramid as well. So yeah, that's my final consensus thought. And yeah, I think this ended up being pretty long. Might have to split this into two pieces even. I'll see how long it is in the end, but I'm so grateful that after years of talking about this, finally got this out and are able to give everyone a lot of information about what's actually going on with it.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing we have going for us right now is we have been able to put the financial funding group to support the type of project we're talking about, which is what has limited us before. And so I think that's the step that we have now that's going to make it possible. So working together, I think we're going to, within the year, I think we can be very close.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's such a huge part, and I'm so glad that we have some people that are more serious about actually coming through with the funding for us and for this. And that's why we've kind of been, I've been back and forth, like, should we do this as the first thing after Giza, or should we even just go for Hawara right now and get Giza as soon as we can as well? And so I'm saying we hit both of them, whichever one they'll give us first. These are both so important. But yeah, that's a good
What
point.
was the game plan? Our game plan when we in 2009 was okay. We'll do Hawara and then go to Giza, so we can still keep that kind of agenda type approach.
Yeah,
We
I
have the
think you're
people that
absolutely
are
right.
we have the people that are interested. I myself want to try and put something together to find those two wooden solar boats.
That
And
would be a great
yeah,
starting point.
it'd be a very easy project to be able to try and do. And I'm pushing that. I'm talking to some people on it. And so we need to get a little bit more information on the data that we have on that. But I have some people that are very interested in that. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's achievable. And
yeah.
then we'll keep on going. We won't tell anybody what we're doing.
We'll start hitting it deeper and deeper from there.
Right.
So yeah, Dr. Hawass, this is us personally letting you know we're ready to do it. We've got we've got the funding, we've got the plan, we can get the best people for the job, and we're willing to work with you. We're willing to be cooperative with anyone ready to get this project going. And so Bill, where can people see anything more about you? Is there yeah, you got any? There's nowhere. You can't learn about. No, you
No,
can figure it out.
I'm staying below the radar. You know that.
Yeah. Okay.
But
And
I think once we get the information open about the information being submitted for the permit, we'll open up to the public a little bit more.
Yeah. And if you really want to reach Bill, you can just try and reach him through me somehow.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
Lewis, what
I'm
about
flying under the radar.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't have any more hair left.
That's because of all this work you've been doing there.
No, I'm trying to keep that. Okay.
It's stressful.
It was great seeing you, Lewis, and I really appreciate everything that you did, and that let's make 2009 happen again soon.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And where can people be finding more information from you, Lewis?
So yeah, I opened this Substack 1.5 months ago, a month ago. So it's called Labyrinth of Egypt. And there's also Labyrinth of Egypt in Instagram account. So
And Facebook group too, right?
and there's a Facebook group as well, and Facebook.
Yeah.
So you can find it on Facebook, Instagram, and on Substack.
All right. I'll get all those links in the description, of course, so everyone can find all of this and a lot of the references to the other things we've been talking about. And I think we can tell everyone as well, we're going to be talking about this a little bit more soon with some other different platforms, different shows. And I'm so grateful and honored that you both decided to join here on my humble little channel first for the first big reveal of all of this information and this super deep dive. But this is going to be a conversation we're opening up. I've thrown it out to both of you that I'm considering trying to see if we could collectively set up a kind of HAWARA summit and bring in more of the people who have been involved in it, potentially a free online event just on YouTube where the public can actually get involved potentially in live sessions and ask questions to everyone, but generally just trying to create a round table and get the conversation expanding and opening up to everyone who's had anything to do with it, who wants to be involved, and help stir up some public support, public awareness, really get people to support, from the crowdsourcing and mostly on the awareness level, just helping share and understanding how important the stuff there is and helping get us a bigger, better case to be able to do this. So, all right. Thank you both so much. It's been an awesome conversation. This is such good information the world really needs right now. And I do believe this is history unfolding, history in the making.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing it to happen.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. All right. I'll see y'all soon. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.